more information to help people you know find God today.
Greg Fritz Ministries wants to give you an ebook entitled Prepare to Meet Your Maker that accompanies this television series as our gift to you. To download the ebook version of this booklet for free, visit our website, gregfritz.org. Are you tired of hearing bad news? Tune into the good news of the gospel.
I love Greg.
I love the way he teaches faith and the way he teaches healing. It's phenomenal.
Greg Fritz has been changing lives through the good news of the gospel for over 35 years.
Because he delivers the Word of God with such warmth and balance and great clarity.
This good news will inspire, inform, and change you so you can live daily in all the promises of God. Welcome to Good News with Greg Fritz.
Hello, I'm Greg Fritz. Welcome to the Good News program. We are continuing this series, Finding God, and we are getting into science. I've got some other categories where we'll look for evidence of God's existence, including space, nature, literature, history, and all of these areas God has left proof of His existence, or clues, I should say. You're never going to see God in a physical form in this world, but we can see proof and clues that lead us to believe in God. And the way to find God, if I can just give away the whole journey, the whole search, is Hebrews 11:6. He who comes to God must believe that He is. And once you believe God is, then you can begin this search for Him, and you're going to find Him. That's just how God operates. He's not hidden from us, He's hidden for us. So we've looked at a lot of quotes already, but I've got a lot more to go. And I encourage you to get the study notes, and this will be something that you can keep in your library. It's got a lot of helpful scriptures and scientific research quotes, things that I've pulled out, mostly from the book, I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. And that book has been a great help to me. The two authors of the book have spent their lives studying these things and studying science and creation and putting the two together. And I think it's a great book. And so I did all the hard work. I read the book and I removed the quotes and put them together in my notes so that hopefully you can get this teaching and not be overloaded with facts and figures and information. We want to have a good combination of information, inspiration, and leave you encouraged and edified at the same time. So I would like for you to consider getting the USB bundle. And in this, it's a USB drive that we're offering with all 20 episodes. The actual TV episodes, we'll put them together, put them on the USB and send them to you. And they'll be in video format and audio, so you can watch them or listen to them. And you can have the notes to go along with it. The notes are in there as well. And we've included this book, Prepare to Meet Your Maker, in e-form. So the e-book version of this will be in there. And what this book is it leads people into a relationship with God or salvation. So we have all the tools necessary for someone to begin from zero, their search for God and how to find Him and then what to do when they find Him. And I believe it'll be very, very helpful to you. And this bundle it's for an offering of $30. So don't call and say, hey, send me that bundle for free. This is $30. You can actually get this ebook for free. You can get the study notes for free on the website, or call and we'll mail them to you. But the USB bundle is $30, and we would love to hear from you. Look, I need more partners or more givers to join with us. And I don't know what it is, if it's inflation or what. I mean, we haven't really increased our overhead that much, a little bit, but in outreach, we're feeling the crunch, and I really am believing God for new partners and new givers. So if you're watching me today and you're one of those, and I know you're out there, you've said, I'm gonna help them, I'm gonna send them some support, I'm gonna help them, but you just haven't done it. do it right now. We'll put the ways to give on the screen. You can scan the QR code, or you can do the text to give, or call our helpline. You can, if you've got this on your DVR, you can pause it and call the helpline and give today. And we're doing more work. If you've called in the past and you've had to talk to an answering machine, we are setting up our phone system to have actual people answer your calls all the time. It'll be men or women. Now, I haven't gotten into that teaching yet, but God created them male and female. So we'll have men and women standing by to take your call. There's nothing else, no children and nothing else in between. But they'll be there to take your call and help you if you'd like to give over the phone. And believe me, it's a good time to give right now. Every gift helps. Every partner helps, and you make it possible for me to do what I'm doing. And I do want to thank our partners for getting us to this point. Now, the title is Finding God. We're trying to give you evidence in different areas of the world to believe in God. And the way I closed the last episode was this: we must be more skeptical and critical in our thinking than when I was a kid. Institutions have been corrupted. Experts have agendas. You can't always believe what people are telling you. Take it at face value. It will help us if we look more deeply into things, especially things that matter. If someone tells you unequivocally that there is no God, they are lying. You don't have to believe that. I don't care what kind of an expert they are. The consequences are too great. If I tell you there's no God, if someone tells you there's no God and you live the rest of your life believing that, what's going to happen when you die and there is one? What's going to happen? What is he going to require of you? Well, I can tell you it's not good. But if I tell you there is a God and you believe that your whole life and you die and there's not one, what difference is it going to make? What have you risked, really? What have you given up to live your life believing in something bigger than yourself? It actually gives your life meaning. And I'm saying that not because Christianity is a crutch or believing in God is a crutch for emotionally weak people, but I'm telling you this because, you're never going to see God in person enough to sign up. But take the evidence and then take the leap of faith. And it's not long if you begin to believe in God and seek God that you'll find Him, and then you'll be like the rest of us. I know there's a God. I don't need... Man, I spent months reading this book, I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. I studied and read and collected these quotes, and I didn't do it for me. I don't need that. I don't need to see a miracle to believe there's a God. I don't need to see DNA and the miracle of life and all the things that I've seen here and the laws of thermodynamics, the laws of science that have been discussed. I don't need that to believe there's a God. I believe the Bible. I met God. And I know God. He talks to me, I talk to Him, and you may think you're crazy. Well, leave me alone. I'm happy. I'm free. I've got purpose. I'm going somewhere. And you could have the same thing in your life. So we've got to be more skeptical when people tell us things unequivocally. There's no God, or whatever else I don't want to give you examples because I'm just going to make people angry, but I'll give you one, all right? And you can get mad. But I hope this never happens again. Did we not sit there and watch the experts tell us to stay home from school for a year and wear masks for a year and stay in our homes for a year? Does anybody calculate the damage that did? These are experts. These are people that's supposed to know what to tell us and tell us what they tell us for their own good. Did they not get high on their own power? Did they not overreach and try to control people with fear and mandates that were not from elected officials? So this is just a sign, a symptom of institutional corruption. And I'm telling you, what people who are scientists are telling you is not necessarily all science. Now, some of it is, and we love science, we love technology, we love advancements, anything that makes life better. But when they start telling us there is no God, when they start telling us that everything came out of nothing for no reason, then we need to pay attention and dig down a little deeper and not take that at face value. Now, not all scientists are atheists. And I didn't know this until I started researching this, but it's true. I already gave you a quote from a Nobel Prize winner, Arthur Compton, who talked about how amazing radiation and the atom and the cells are to purposeful creation, how it points to a creator. So he was a scientist. Then there was a guy, and I got this from the book, I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. His name is Jerry Bergman. He's a PhD. He compiled a list of almost 3,000 scientists and professors who reject evolution. You'll never see that on the news. They're not going to tell you that. They have an anti-God agenda. Some of them do. And they're scientists. There's an anti-God agenda in some of the sciences to keep God out of our thinking. But this guy, Jerry Bergman, he compiled a list of 3,000 scientists who reject evolution, most of whom hold PhDs in science. So you don't have to be an atheist to be a scientist. This is the list that he composed himself. He believes that given time, he could easily complete a list of 10,000 names of people scientists who believe in God. That helps me. Then, and it helps me realize that science does not automatically mean you have to throw God out of your thinking. And education and intelligence and common sense does not definitely, unequivocally mean that you have to throw God out. These are very intelligent people, leaders in their fields, and they believe in God. The director of the Human Genome Project, his name is Dr. Francis Collins. He said 40% of working scientists claim to be believers. That's helpful. I've never heard that before. I didn't realize that. I thought scientists were atheists and atheists were scientists. I didn't know that you could be immersed in the field of science and believe in a God. Now, I wondered why they weren't. I wondered why scientists were not believers, because they see more of God's handiwork and more of His fingerprints on things than we do. And so it's good to know that 40% of these people are believers. That's helpful, isn't it? So don't believe the lie that if you're a scientist, if you embrace education, higher education, you have to be an atheist. I am not against science or scientists, but I am against any theory that teaches our children there is no God. And really, that's the only reason I'm talking about all this. I would never pick a fight with scientists over science. I mean, who am I to do that? But they're going to tell us there's no God. They've stepped into my territory. Now they're talking faith. Why? Because science can't prove there's no God. Science can't prove there is a God, but it can't prove there's not a God. You say, well, they have to go where the science leads them, and if the science can't discover God, then they have to come to the conclusion there's no God. Well, they didn't do that with aliens. They still believe in aliens. They're still looking for them, and they don't have any proof at all. But yet they're surrounded by a creation that God made that's beautiful beyond belief, and that's evidence in itself that there's a God, and yet they don't believe in God. Okay, that's fine. Let's get rid of aliens too then. We haven't found one of those. So you can see that there's an anti-God agenda at work here because it's not consistent. Saying that there is no God is much different than saying we haven't found Him yet or found one. That's what they say about aliens. Why can't they be as open to the idea of God as they are about aliens? But they're not. So I would really respect them more if they would say, here's what we know, here's what science has proven, here are the laws that we've discovered. As far as the origin of we don't know. As far as the origin of living cells, we don't know. But they keep trying to fill in those blanks with an anti-God explanation, and it's really more absurd than believing God did it. I mean, what's more believable to you? If you just take all bias and all preconceived ideas out of it, and you had two people and one of them says, hey, look around you. See everything? Everything came from nothing. There was absolutely nothing, and there was this explosion that happened for no reason, and it produced the universe as we now see and know. And after millions of years, out of a pond in the primordial soupy swamp, non-living matter spontaneously generated into a living cell. And then over billions of years, that cell evolved into, in other words, nothing and chance is responsible for everything. That's huge. And you can get lost in the billions and billions of years and the mutations of species and how this happened and that happened and this fossil and that fossil and the missing link and all that. But really, I want to focus on two events. The origin of matter, time and space, and living cells. They cannot adequately explain that, and yet they've used chance, accident, Big Bang, spontaneous generation, these terms, but they haven't explained it at all, and yet Genesis 1 gives us a perfectly reasonable explanation. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Isn't that powerful? Isn't that simple? Isn't that believable? They know something happened. And I've said this before, but this is key. They finally discovered that the universe had a beginning. Up until then, they were hoping that the universe was eternal, because then you don't have to give an explanation. But if you say it has a beginning, then you have to give some sort of explanation or search for an explanation as to how did it begin. If it hadn't always existed, what happened to produce it? And they say it's this Big Bang, this chance happenstance explosion. I got a perfect explanation. In the beginning, God. That makes so much sense. Here's a biologist, a Harvard biologist, Stephen Jay Gould, described humans as a glorious accident of evolution, which required 60 trillion contingent events. There you go. That takes you from nothing, from non-living material to a single cell. 60 trillion contingent happenstance events later, you have human beings. I mean, I don't know how people believe that. Maybe I've believed the Bible for so long I'm just not fit for society. Maybe I'm just like I'm totally brainwashed and don't have any sense left. And I just believe that in the beginning God created them. But my goodness, I don't think I have enough time left in my life to brainwash myself to the point where I could believe that humans are a glorious accident of evolution, which required 60 trillion contingent events. Here's a physicist. Now, I get all these quotes from I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. And I say that because of copyright rules, and I don't know if that's even enough. I should give you chapter and verse and footnote, but I don't have that. I just got it out of the book. If they require it, I can provide those things. But all of these quotes came from that book, including this one. Physicist Paul Davies writes, "One may find it easier to believe in an infinite array of universes than an infinite deity. But such a belief must rest on faith rather than observation. Believing without observation is exactly what atheists accuse religious people of doing." And they do. They accuse us of believing in God. We can't see God. You can't show him, you can't find him in the natural world. So they say, well, you people are just shallow. You just believe in things without observing it. And science is all based on observation and experimentation. But, he says, ironically, it's the atheists who are pushing a religion of blind faith. And they are. Anyone who tells you there's no God is lying. Anyone who tells you that everything came from nothing for no reason, that it was a glorious accident, they're lying. And I would be embarrassed to say that. I would rather, if I were a scientist and I didn't believe in God, I would rather say, we don't know what happened before. We know what's here. We don't know how it got here. We know that life exists, but we're not sure how it went from non-living to living. We're not sure how life came into existence. Why can't they just say that? I just don't know, unless there's this anti-God bias. And I'm believing more and more that that's what it is, when 40% of scientists are believers. So what about the others? They're ignoring the evidence. They're turning a blind eye to the evidence, and they're staying with this narrative without observation. Let me read some scripture. Isaiah 29:15 and 16 says, "Woe to those who seek deep to hide their counsel far from God, and their works are in the dark. They say, who sees us? And who knows us? Surely you have things turned around. Shall the potter be esteemed as the clay? For shall the thing who made say of him who made it, he did not make me? Or shall the thing formed say of him who formed it, he has no understanding? There is no God. There's nothing beyond this life. There's nothing beyond this dimension. It was an accident." I'm telling you, these people are treading on very dangerous ground. Just because God's invisible doesn't mean He doesn't exist, and doesn't mean that He doesn't have laws and rules and morality, and there's not going to be a day of reckoning, because those of us who believe the Bible know that there will be a day of reckoning. And I wouldn't want to be one of these people who spent my life telling people, teaching our children, teaching students in the classroom, there's no God, don't worry about that. Evolution did all this. It all happened by chance. I'm sure they don't want to spend a lot of time on that particular part. They'd rather deal with the billions and billions of years of evolution and species and fossils and discoveries like that. I mean, that is science. But if you pin them down to how did time, space, and matter originate, and where did living cells come from, they're just like the Bible says here. Shall he say of the thing who made it, he did not make me? Or shall the thing formed say of him who formed it, he doesn't have any understanding? The Message Bible says, does a book say to its author, he didn't write a word of me? Does a meal say to the woman who cooked it, she had nothing to do with this? Evil is the absence of God. That's why this matters. You know, it's not just a scientific view. It's not just their opinion and our opinion, and we're more of a religious, background, and they're more secular background. No, it's God or no God. It's taking God out of society, taking God out of our schools. And when you take light out, when you turn light off, what do you get? Darkness. You don't get neutral. There is no neutral in this world. There's good and evil. There's God and the devil. There's righteousness and sin. And when they remove God from the classrooms and remove God from our children's mentality, they are opening the door to evil, and evil will fill that void. And I truly believe that's what we're seeing. I mean, there's people who don't have any understanding of God whatsoever. They've never been to church. They don't even believe in God. They don't talk to God. But they see our world getting worse. They see our streets filling with criminals. They see the society in decay. And they're worried about it. Well, this is the result of pulling God out, and that's why it matters. That's why people like me need to speak up. And maybe I've been quiet too long, but I definitely respect science and respect scientists and would never want to argue that or even walk into that field or that area. But this is not about science. This is about God or no God. This is about pushing a worldview that doesn't include the existence of God. And somebody's got to speak up. The 60% of scientists, evidently, that don't believe in God, they're wrong about that. Now, they may have discovered some wonderful things, and they may be very, very brilliant, educated, and understand a lot of nature, wherever their expertise lies, but they're wrong about the no God stand. And you don't need a scientist to add God back into society. You need a preacher. Well, here I am. I'm here not to argue science, but to argue faith. And I want to put God back into society, back into the classroom, back into the national discussion, back into the consciousness of our kids. There is a God, and you can find Him. He's not hidden from you, He's hidden for you. And I encourage you to find God. If it's the last thing you do, if it's the only thing you do, if it's everything you do, find this living God. It'll be the greatest discovery you ever made. So how do you know? Because I found Him, and it changed my life. So how do you know the Bible's the Word of God? Because every time I believe a verse in that Bible, it changes my life. That's proof to me. We're going to get into literature and history as far as the authenticity of the Bible. I've got that ready to go. It's coming up. Don't miss this series. There's many more quotes, many more scriptures to give you, to encourage you to find God. And I know most of my audience here, you know God, and this is preaching to the choir. But listen, take this series and get it to people that you know that need it. Friends and loved ones, co-workers, just slip it to them. Say, hey, watch this when you get a chance. It's not condemning. It's not divisive whatsoever. We love everyone. We love scientists. I want to help people. And so that's the spirit in which it was given. But give them this. They have the study notes as well. They can listen to it, watch it, and then this book here is worth the entire purchase. It's Prepare to Meet Your Maker, and it tells you what to do when you find God. This series, I believe, is going to help people, and I'd love for you to have a copy. If you haven't supported our ministry, please take a minute. The ways to give are on the screen. Text to give, call our helpline. If you've called in the past and you've struggled, I want to apologize. We've been short-staffed, and we have been looking at ways to remedy this, but now we have, I believe we've solved that problem, so let's put us to the test. Call us today and give your offering over the phone if you like to give that way. I'd love to hear from you. You're making it possible for me to do this work, and I believe that we're just getting started. Help me get a foothold and then take this message to a bigger audience. God bless you today.